just wrapping up with a few players, and we started the off-season program this week, so a little crazy getting back in action. And I have another meeting at 2:30, so I'll have to cut it a little short and get to that meeting. So just as a heads up.
So you got to be off just before 2:30?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, I try to have everything ready to roll. So.
Okay, no problem, man. Doing okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you?
Yeah, just grinding through the off-season program. That's it. And getting ready for the draft next week.
Come on. All right, here we go in 3, 2, 1. What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Sports Medicine Broadcast. Ankle rehab from the pros. I got Roland Ramirez, one of the leading minds in athletic training physical therapy, working with the Houston Texans, taking a little bit of time out of his busy schedule to join us just to talk about ankle rehab and how you guys do it. You obviously have high-profile injuries. Everybody's watching. Want to know what you guys do. You kind of leading in research and stuff like that. So, Roland, thanks for joining us. And I know we're short on time. So the question or the topic is, you have an ankle sprain. The guy is non or minimal weight bearing. Walk me through all the stuff you're going to do. And then as much as possible, be specific. So go.
Okay. Well, I mean, every injury is slightly different, and every guy responds differently as far as the amount of swelling and whatever else. But a general ankle sprain that has some significant swelling or limited weight bearing, and we try to, despite some of the latest research out there is, against ice, we use ice, and we try to combat that swelling as much as possible. And we, there is a balance of limiting their motion, but at the same time trying to get them to move their ankle and use their ankle as soon as possible. So, we'll hit them with a ton of things, for acute injuries, whether it's game ready, whether it's other modalities, machines that sort of create like a muscle pumping action. Trying to use a laser on that as well, trying to promote as much healing as possible with any modality that we can use. We also use Hivamet to try to combat some of that swelling. And, from there, we might start with limited range of motion, just plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, and stay away from any kind of lateral movements. For example, if it's a lateral ankle sprain, obviously we're not going to be stressing that much. But as soon as they can tolerate it, some simple ankle pumps with plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, if they can tolerate it, even if it's small range of motion, any type of muscle action, joint pumping, that type of thing is something that we have found to be really beneficial. And as well as your K-taping or lymphatic drainage taping, there are times, we'll have just a simple compression sleeve, trying to minimize the amount of swelling and the amount of scar tissue that sets in. And but once they're able to start exercising and putting some more weight on that ankle, then we're aggressive with it and try to get them moving as early as possible. And the other thing we do is a lot of BFR, especially in that early stage where they are limited with weight bearing. We try to mitigate the amount of atrophy that's going to happen around the ankle. And so we implement the blood flow restriction training as early as possible, and then we progress them from there. The important thing to note is that it is not, you can't just focus on the ankle. You have to go up the chain. and so you have to make your rehab program as comprehensive as possible, with your knee and glute, hip exercises as well, and make sure that you are symmetrical in all that you implement down the road as well. So that's kind of a quick synopsis of things. Are you still there? Because I can't.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, your video is frozen on my end. I'm just making sure. But that's a quick snapshot of what we do. I threw in a little modalities, in there, but I don't know how specific you want me to get, or if you have any specific questions regarding that.
Well, for me in the high school setting, obviously we don't have BFR. I don't know what Hivamat is, so you can touch on that real quick. But if we don't have it, then it doesn't matter. So what I'd like to focus on is just the exercises that most athletic trainers can do. Because I was looking at a post, and some of the athletic trainers have a $500 budget per year or a $1,200 budget per year, and so focusing on what they can do with body weight or maybe TheraBand, very limited resources.
Yeah, for sure, and I understand it. I mean, we obviously, just being at this level, we have a healthy budget, and so that's definitely a plus. But I understand completely the other side of it is with a limited budget. The Hivamat, the exact name escapes me. It's an acronym and I can't think of it. I'm sorry. I'll have to look that up. But it's basically a modality that uses powder and uses static electricity to try to work. So it creates a circuit between the player and yourself. And so it tries to create this static electricity. Creates vibration that works at the interstitial level and tries to decrease the amount of swelling in whatever area you're working on. Very good machine. There's quite a bit of research on it, but definitely something worth looking into. But aside from that, going back to what you mentioned or what you asked, everybody knows the ankle four-way with TheraBand, and one that we do is manual plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, and everybody does that as well. And we throw PNF in there once they are able to do like a D1, D2 ankle PNF pattern. We'll manually resist that as well. Then we are doing the standard double leg calf raises, single leg calf raises, from a shuttle, just limited weight bearing or limited weight. We will start with a shuttle leg press or some other leg press machine and try to do an unweighted double leg and single leg calf raises. In some cases, we might do an eccentric type of calf raise. And then we progress them onto the floor. And we are doing our double leg and single leg calf raises there. And then, of course, our balance, starting off on the floor. If it's a significant ankle sprain, we might have to scale it back and start with weight shifts. So performing your weight shifts for time or reps, and then single leg balance on the floor, and progressing to unstable surfaces, like the AirX pads or any kind of Dynadisc or things that you have. And of course, just trying to protect them, making sure that they're safe. You don't want to get anything that's too unstable. A BOSU ball at the beginning might be too aggressive, especially for those acute significant injuries. So have to be careful with those. And then progressive strengthening exercises. We try to implement, whether it's step ups, whether it's lunges in a certain pattern. We try to incorporate a single leg balance component to several exercises that we implement with our guys. And the primary reason is to stimulate that neuromuscular system. And so if it's a step up, for example, we have them step up onto a box and then have like a 2 or 3 second balance up at the top and then come back down. Same thing with a lunge. We might do a reverse lunge or a side lunge, come back to a single leg stance, and then and have them balance, 2 or 3 seconds to try to stimulate that neuromuscular system. And of course, you can do different exercises with perturbations, eyes open, eyes closed, performing lunges onto a Bosu ball, and just trying to challenge them statically, dynamically, adding a ton of perturbations and just being aggressive once they can tolerate it, being aggressive and trying to be creative with the type of things that you are implementing for a general lower body program. Again, it's not just about the ankle. I mean, of course, we have to strengthen the ankle, and still it is a balance. You have to adjust your volume and your type of activities, and you don't want their ankle to be, yelling at you as they come in the next day because you did too much that previous day. And so it's a balance. You have to be aware of the amount of exercises and the type of exercises and the load that you place on it. But at the same time, being aware that it's not just about the ankle. It's all the way up the chain, and you need to make sure that you train to do that and prepare these athletes to get back on the field in a safe manner.
All right. So you've mentioned training the whole chain. If somebody's got a non-weight bearing ankle, what are you doing for their knee, their hip, like you said, the glute, and then the core?
That's a great question. If they're limited in weight bearing like that, I mean, your short arc quads are something that we do. Everybody does the straight leg raises, and we do that. And then we'll do manual hip stuff. So manual butterflies, straight leg, bent knee, adduction, trying to, challenge the groin there. And then your seated butterflies that we might do with a ball squeeze, or a pillow or something that you might have, a medicine ball. And, any kind of bridging, if they're able to tolerate at least bridging, we will do that. If they can't, then sideline, like a glute kick or a clamshell type thing, and then we can do it manually. You can add resistance with a band or TheraBand, mini bands, whatever you might have. And then also working on hip flexors, off the end of the table, off the side of the table, doing manual work that way, and or standing where they're not standing on the injured side, but with the injured side elevated and staying on the good side, if you will, then performing some band work or different types of exercises. Hip four-way, even hip internal and external rotation with TheraBand is also are also good exercises. I mean, hopefully they're not limited for too long. Of course, if they have a significant high ankle sprain, if they have surgery, if they have a chondral lesion, I mean, those are all, there's different parameters for each one of those injuries. And so, it could get, if a guy is non-weight bearing for 4 weeks or 6 weeks, it's a challenge, and you have to mix it up. It's going to get monotonous really fast, and so you have to be creative with certain things that you implement. And there are you might have a list of 5 or 6 exercises on one day and do 5 or 6 exercises that are completely different the next day, and alternate. You're just going to have to be creative with them if you're seeing them every single day.
All right, you mentioned perturbations. Can you speak a little bit more about that and how you like to do that?
Sure. There's so if you're standing, basically single leg balance on RX pad, and you might be tossing a ball at them at first, but then perturbations of just hitting them on the shoulders, hitting them at the waist, hitting them front and back, kind of on one side unilaterally. I mean, there are different ways that you can do that. There's sometimes that I'll have them balance with their arms out, holding a TheraBand, for example, and then me walking around them, pulling the band, and adding that challenge in a perturbation type of way being able to pull that band in different directions and try to just challenge them and stimulate that neuromuscular system. And at the same time, eyes closed, you can perform something like that. There are times where I'll have them, work on different machines while they're balancing, plus perturbations, that I will. They might be, doing some anti-rotation chest press while they're balancing, for example. So that they might have like a cable column or a cable machine, and they're performing something with their arms on that cable column, and then balancing on an RX pad, for example, and then I am manually performing perturbations and trying to move them and challenge them even more and make it harder. And eyes closed, definitely, we all know, makes it a little more difficult, and so adding that as well. So there can be perturbations, double leg stance, split squat stance, and then of course the most challenging with the single leg stance. And so just being creative and trying to manually move them and them trying to stabilize is definitely an added plus to their rehab.
All right, your favorite resource for mixing things up?
I actually find, I'm on Facebook every once in a while. I am on Twitter maybe a little bit more, but I find a lot of stuff nowadays on social media, and there's always links to certain websites or certain articles. Of course, I get several journals that are delivered here or online, through email, and so I'll click on certain links and read peer-reviewed articles and watch different videos of some new ways of doing things. And so social media is probably the quickest and fastest thing. As I scroll through there, I might see or watch a video that is pretty unique and interesting, and so or there's some research that that is stated, and you click on the link and read about it a little bit. Might see some pictures. That's I think the easiest and most accessible way nowadays. And so and there's a lot of good things. There's a lot of bad things on social media, but there's a lot of good things that you can get from that as well. And so just constantly trying to find new ways to implement certain things and get creative with your exercises and your players. It goes a long ways.
All right, last question. Obviously, it's better to prevent an injury than to treat it afterwards. So what are some of the things that you guys do to prevent ankle sprains?
Aside from what everybody does as far as the taping and bracing, we, again, going back to one of the things I mentioned earlier, is with a lot of our exercises that we do, we try to end in some type of single leg balance position. Again, if it's lateral lunges, if it's step ups, if it's a reverse lunge, whatever the case may be, even a single leg squat like a pistol squat, and then having to lift a kettlebell or a dumbbell off of a step, something like that. We're always trying to add some type of balance component at the end of it. Again, a lunge, they might perform a reverse lunge and then come up to a single leg stance and hold that for a second. If they're doing a single leg squat and they're reaching down to grab a kettlebell and they come back up, we're challenging the neuromuscular system that way, or we might throw an RX pad or some kind of Dynadisc under their foot and challenge them even more. Those are some preventative ways that we try to prevent these type of injuries. In football, we're in a tough sport, and those lower extremity injuries are going to happen. And even at the high school level, they're going to happen in all sorts of sports, and basketball, whatever else the case may be. But trying to, I think one of the biggest things as far as preventative measures that you can do is to add a single leg balance component to everything that you can. All types of exercises that you're able to add that component in there, I think is a plus also.
All right, Roland, now you know you got to go. Thanks for your time, buddy, and I'll see you soon.
Yep, sorry I got to cut you short, man, but I appreciate your time. Thanks for having me on.
No worries. Thanks.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye.
All right, this is the sportsmedicinebroadcast.com/ankle rehab. Again, Roland Ramirez, one of the leading minds in the NFL as far as rehab. Very personable. Obviously, he just joined us here on the podcast, squeezed me in, and is a pretty cool dude. So check him out, Roland Ramirez. I'll have the links to show notes. Typed this up as much as I could. He talked fast. So again, sportsmedicinebroadcast.com/ankle rehab. So if you're stuck, if you need some new, fresh ideas, just an extra resource. Hopefully that's what this episode can be for you. And then we go from there. So I guess for Jeremy Roland Ramirez, Sports Medicine Broadcast, that is a wrap.